What's going on? So today I want to talk about something that I think is often overlooked and something that people don't really put importance on, but I think it's one of the most important things you can do, and that is foot care. Okay, so let's talk about hot spots and blisters, because that's mainly what you're gonna have when you have foot care, right? So I started doing road marches and stuff like that back in 1997 when I first went to basic training. Back then they issued you a pair of leather boots that were super hard, and to condition them and condition your feet, you started out like you would walk a mile, then you'd walk to all your training events, then you'd walk 3 miles, then it was 6, then it was 9. I think you ended with 12 mile road march towards the end. Inevitably, when you're breaking in boots, when you have, kid feet, you are gonna get hot spots, you're gonna get blisters, and you can't really do much about it. Even now, today, if you take a brand new pair of hiking boots and you, let's say, walk up Pikes Peak like I did, then you're gonna get something. You're gonna get a hot spot, you're gonna get a blister or something, right? So let's talk about some preventive maintenance that we can do before we get those. Back in the 90s, when we used to road march literally everywhere, we would put pantyhose on and then put a pair of socks on. And I used to wear real thick wool socks. Even at the time, I didn't know that wool was a good thing to wear. I just did it because they were thick and they were more comfortable than the real thin socks. But we put pantyhose on because what makes hot spot and blisters, right? Heat, moisture, and friction. So basically, if you have a pair of jeans and you have thick thighs with 3 C's and your thighs rub together, right, like that, what's gonna happen to those jeans? You're gonna create a hole in those jeans, right? Same thing with your skin. If this is your foot and your boots on here and you're constantly walking, it's constantly, that's a really weird thing I'm doing right now. So your foot is constantly doing that in the boot. What's gonna happen is it's gonna create friction, heat, and your feet are sweating, so moisture, and it's gonna create a hole in your skin. So what your body does is it creates a hot spot and it creates a blister and protects that skin with some fluid. It's just your body's natural reaction to try to help itself. The body doesn't know that that really hurts and we can't walk for 3 days afterwards, but we get over it. So some preventive maintenance. 1, keep your feet clean, all right? Don't let them get all dirty and nasty because that's just gross. 2, foot powder. You don't need too much foot powder because that can also be bad and you start clumping up. But a nice foot powder that's gonna keep your feet dry. 3, your sock choice. Whatever socks you do like. Some people like real thin, regular white socks. Some people like the big, thick wool socks like me. Kind of just depends on your own preference, right? Obviously, if you go hiking in the woods or the forest, wool socks are gonna be better because they're moisture wicking and the whole cotton kills thing, right? Same thing with the military and law enforcement. I wore wool socks my entire career. Military, contracting, and law enforcement, I just wore them because they were thick and comfy. That's about it. And then also when you're walking, the first time you start to feel a hot spot, stop, change your socks and see what's going on. And if you can, start doing some of the stuff we're gonna talk about here in a minute, right? And speaking of changing socks, you always carry an extra pair of socks, super lightweight. It's not gonna take up hardly any room. And if your feet get wet or super moist from sweat, then you can always change your socks. It's always great to have a new fresh pair of socks. Okay, so if you get a hot spot, right? You're walking, all of a sudden something starts hurting on your pinky toe. You stop, what do? You see a little red spot and you touch it and it kind of hurts, right? Well, we have a few different options here. Now, on the trail, you may have all of this, or you may have just one thing, okay? One thing is better than nothing, okay? Even if you're hiking, you have some duct tape. Even duct tape will work. I've seen dudes duct tape almost their whole feet, and it works fine. So if you have a little hot spot on your pinky toe, you can take some athletic tape, you can take a Band-Aid, anything, and just kind of put it over that hot spot, and that just creates a barrier between your skin and the friction, okay? Let's say you are dumb like I am, and you did a 12-mile road march, and you were trying to make the best time possible, and you were running, and you did not care about water or anything but the time, and you did it in 2 hours and 20 minutes, and you're super stoked about yourself, and then the next day you have a Soldier of the Month board, and you can't even put your shoes on to walk. And you finally get your shoes on, you finally walk in, you look like a damn robot because your feet are killing you, right? Well, let's talk about that. I have been, I guess, fortunate enough that through all the schools I've been to, through all the humps I did, my feet, even to this day, are pretty nice and soft. And I contribute that to how well I did take care of my feet. I was fortunate enough to have some really good leaders and some really good battle buddies back in the day, and we took care of each other. And yeah, it's pretty gross when you're out there and you're taking care of your buddy's feet and he's been wearing the same socks for 3 days. But you know what? It's just how it is, right? So let's say you are walking and you get a big old blister. It's all full of water and pus or fluid, you know, and it squishes you to the touch. What are you going to do? Well, if you go on YouTube, there's some, I'm not kidding, there's some legitimate doctors that say you should go to the emergency room. I have no idea why you would want to pay that money to go to the emergency room when you can just pop your own blister and take care of it yourself. But I guess doctors got to make money. I would never ever go to the emergency room for a blister unless it was like infected and gangrene and, you know, trench foot and all that stuff. I would never do it, but that's just me. Popping it, you can do that one of 100 different ways, right? You can do a needle, you can do a knife, you can do anything, and I think I've used just about everything to include toenail clippers and just clip it, right? Depending on how big it is, I've had like my whole heel come off. I've had, you know, a big pad underneath my foot. Like, I've had just about everything. Depending on how big it is kind of what you're gonna do here. If you have a little bitty blister and it's just kind of on your toe, you can pop it, dry it off, and then you can just put a rubber band, or not a rubber band, excuse me, a Band-Aid around it. And usually that'll help. That'll be good enough, that'll suffice, right? If you have a big blister and it is, you know, on the heel of your foot or something like that, you're gonna need some other stuff, okay? If you have a really big blister and you pop it, you know, a lot of people say you want to sterilize your needles and all that. You can. I mean, you can have alcohol prep pads, and you can, you know, wipe off your needle, or you can put it underneath the fire, whatever. I've never done any of that stuff. I'm still alive, whatever. So anyways, pop it, dry it out, make sure you get all the pus out of it, okay? All the pus, all the fluid, all the everything. Get it out and dry it up, all right? From there, we have a couple options, okay? One, like I said, the alcohol prep pad. What that's gonna do is not only gonna clean the area, and don't like rip the skin off and clean like, you know, the really part that really hurts. Don't do that, that would be stupid. Clean the outside of the area because that's what you want your tape to stick, okay? It's gonna clean the outside of the area, and alcohol, as you should know, dries pretty quick, and it's gonna dry your skin out, okay? If you need to, if the skin does come off and it hurts really bad, you can put some Neosporin on there. Not too much, just a little bit. This is the pain relief kind. It helps out a lot. If it's really big and it's still kind of like pussy and stuff, you can take one of these big Band-Aids, put some Neosporin on it. Make sure, you know, the pad covers the whole thing. If it doesn't, you're gonna have to do some other stuff. If the pad covers the whole thing, you put this on, and then you can take some athletic tape or, you know, medical tape or anything and put it around the edges so that it stays on, and then cover the whole thing up so that, again, you have just a barrier for the friction, and then you can, you know, go about your business. One of the things that they told us back in the day and that people still use today is moleskin, okay? I hate moleskin, and I think it is horrible. And I have used it and used it and used it, and it has never ever worked out for me. And yes, I do know how to use it properly, okay? I know how to cut it out, cut the hole in it, put it over, then put something over that. I know how to do all that. I hate it, okay? Moleskin, it's not sticky enough. It always tends to rub off. It's not good. Same with like waterproof, you know, the tape that comes in your first aid kit. Not sticky enough. Same with this kind of tape. Not sticky enough. Athletic, just regular athletic tape. Not sticky enough. okay? All this stuff, if you are 6 miles into a 20-mile hike or whatever, then in the next few miles, this is more likely gonna come off, okay? And then your foot's just gonna keep hurting and you're not doing the right stuff for it. So what is the right stuff? In my opinion, this stuff called goat tape, they have this stuff, goat tape, and it's scary sticky. This stuff will stay on for days. I've kept this on my feet through showers this stays on for like 4 days, and that's taking a shower every day, working out every day, doing everything, and it won't come off. And this is what I found to be the best, okay? Every time I get a new pair of shoes, something like that, and I go work out with them and stuff, and there's always a little hot spot. And as soon as I get the hot spot, I just take this tape, put it on the hot spot, put it big enough to where it not only covers the hot spot, but kind of goes out farther than that. And this stuff doesn't come off for 4 days, and by that time my shoes are worn in and I'm good to go. Kinesiology tape, or K tape, as they like to call it, is something else that's really good because it's super, super flexible. This stuff, if you get a good brand, it's okay. The stickiness is okay. You just got to make sure when you put this on that you round the corners off. If you don't, then it tends to come up. This stuff I haven't really needed to round the corners off, and just stays on, okay? So recently, as in 2 days ago, my wife came home. She was at a trade show for what she does, and she was like, I can't walk. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, she went out, she bought brand new shoes. She put them on with no socks, no pantyhose, no nothing, and then walked around the trade show for 10 hours. Yeah, so she had 3 or 4 blisters on every foot, on both of her feet. And some of them were big, some were small. So what we had to do is I went through, I popped all the blisters, I dried it out, I cleaned it up, and then for each blister, it was something different. She had a really small one on her toe, so I just took a real thin strip of this and put it right over it. The fluid that came out of it wasn't a lot. It was really small, so I just covered her whole pinky toe in tape, and it worked out just fine. She had one on her heel that was pretty big, and what I ended up doing was drying it out, putting some Neosporin on it, put a band-aid right on there, and as you guys know, these don't stick all that well either. So put that on there, and then I put this tape all the way around it, and then completely covered it. And that just formed, one is a pad to soak up anything else that's going to come out, and then a moisture barrier, and it's got Neosporin on it so it doesn't get infected. She had a couple other spots that were just hot spots, so I just took a big piece of tape and just completely covered all those hot spots. And she was worried that, you're going to see this tape like when she's walking around, and it's true. I mean, they don't have very many colors, but you can get kinesiology tape in a skin tone, kind of like this, and this stuff works fairly well. They even have a little spray that's like a adhesive spray that makes it stick even better. So what you could do is you could put a Band-Aid on the blister itself, and then just spray a little bit, and then put that on, and then it'll stay really good. This is really thin and it's really flexible, so you can kind of go anywhere. And if you've never seen kinesiology tape, I don't know if any sports that you watch, you'll have people have like piece of tape on their elbows or their knees or shoulders or something like that. That's just kinesiology tape. That's a whole different video of what it's supposed to do and all that. But for blisters, this works out pretty good. Again, do not, you get a first aid kit and it always has the moleskin in there. To me, it's just garbage. It really is. Like, I don't even use it. This tape and this tape, like, if you are in a super pinch, then, that's what you're going to have to use. This cheap, athletic tape, the regular athletic tape you can buy, in rolls of 6 or 8. Again, if you're in a pinch, it's going to have to do, but it doesn't work all that well. This stuff's a little bit more expensive than this, but the stickiness of this is well beyond what, the 3 rolls you're going to have to use to get 1 roll of this. So if a Band-Aid's not big enough, right? If you get a big Band-Aid, it's not big enough, what you can always do, clean it up again. And again, if you pop it, pop it with a needle, a knife, whatever. Don't cut all the skin off. Just make sure you drain it all. And I just used a hand towel to mat it or to pat it and make sure soaking up all the stuff. Put some Neosporin on it. and then just get a piece of gauze. You can cut the gauze obviously to whatever size you need, put the gauze on there, and then completely cover it in this tape. And leave it on there for 2 or 3 days. Or, if you take a shower and it starts coming off, reapply it, okay? So this stuff, if I have it, I leave it on for 3 or 4 days until it starts flaring at the edges, and then I rip it off. And then usually by that time, my body has healed itself. It won't happen every time. Sometimes you're gonna have to reapply it. But like I said, if you are out on the trail and you have just this, and you should have a pocket knife on you, right? So if you had just a little roll of this, and you're starting getting hot spots, stop on the trail, take off your socks, dry your feet off, put some tape on there, wherever your hot spot is, and then just keep on trucking. Again, duct tape works. Any kind of tape will work. You just need a barrier from your skin to from your skin, your sock, and your boot, so it doesn't create that pressure and that friction. So after you get this tape on, after you apply it, if you're putting powder back on your feet, don't put it all over this. You want to kind of keep it away from that and let this tape kind of adhere first. You can put it to the rest of your feet to kind of dry it out, or you can take some powder, just dump it in your sock, and get your sock all powdery and then put it on. Thank you, dog. Appreciate that. That helps a little bit. Well, hello. How are you? Yeah. And then you can keep on trucking. Remember, a clean pair of socks always helps. Or if you're like my wife and you went to this symposium and you didn't wear socks at all, remember the pantyhose, you can get pantyhose in skin tone color. It's super thin, but it still provides that barrier that is going to help you out. And pantyhose are like $1 or something. And if you get if you have to get the ones that go all the way up, just cut them off and put a piece of tape around them on your calf or something like that. I just don't think it's worth it to save $1, but then you can't walk right for 3 days. It doesn't make sense in my mind. So in conclusion, to take care of your feet, if you're on your feet all day, if you're walking around all day, they're kind of important. So if you just carry even something as simple as one roll of tape in your bag, in your med kit, in your patrol vehicle, whatever, and you're walking around and you start getting hot spots, take a pause, go ahead and put that on, you're gonna save your feet, all right? So don't let a little issue like a hot spot or a blister take you out of the fight, all right? Use some tape, get on it, and always ask yourself, are you an asset or a liability? I'm trying to do something here. You're interrupting me.